In this episode of the Orange Nerd Show, I am joined by these fantastic gentlemen, Citrus George, VashSky. We're going to talk all about the Disney Studio theatrical slate. And when I say Disney Studio, I'm talking Marvel, Star Wars, all of it. A lot going on today with that. We might even dive into some other good little tidbits on the studio side up next on the Orange Nerd Show. Welcome aboard, everybody, to another episode of the Orange Nerd Show here on OG55. We're going to dispense with the pleasantries. I'm going to introduce Mr. VashSky, Dr. Dreezy, host of the Freshly Squeezed Show here on the channel. Dre, welcome back, sir.
You're too kind, too kind.
You may dispense with the pleasantries, Commander.
Yes.
Very, very good. Very, very good. I love it. Thank you so much for having me on. This is a very interesting discussion for sure, because man, it comes at a time of rapid change in the industry, both for Disney's studio side of things, and also their linear and TV side of things. So very, very interesting. Anyway, if you guys want to go ahead and follow me, you can go do so right down there at VashSky. Just go ahead and type it in, and it should pop up for, as Christine Way-Sense McCarthy would say, for all of the
robust
discussion right there. And if you want to see me, well, it's going to be on the channel you're watching right now at Orange Grove 55, where we have some amazing shows, including those hosted by the amazing Citrus George down below right there, where we cover everything Walt Disney World news related, which I'm sure we're going to do plenty of in the upcoming weeks, I'm sure. We have the amazing show that you're watching right now, Orange Grove 55, and Orange Nerd, where we talk about everything related to the entertainment industry, the Walt Disney Company, C-Suite, all of that jazz. Definitely want to subscribe for that. And Story Geeks with Jay, where we talk about the stories that most impact our lives, including my show on there, Freshly Squeezed, your source for juice, news, and info, squeezed fresh right from the Grove.
Perfect. And we got Citrus George down below, fresh off the plane, right? Fresh off the plane, back in his home state. George, welcome back, brother.
Thank you. Glad to be back. Yeah, right off the plane, back into the Orange Grove 55 studio. Glad to be back here with you fellas, and ready to get into some Disney chit chat. But before we do so, if you want to see me, you could check out my YouTube channel, Disney Family Man 23. If you want to interact with me, you could do so on Twitter at Disney George. Please check out the podcast I am part of called A Walk with Walt. And of course, you can find me here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner, with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
There we go. Let's rock and roll, guys. Let's rock and roll. I'm going to go ahead and share your screen. Dr. Dre, if you want to go ahead and set the table for this pretty stacked studio show that we got here.
For sure. So we were originally going to go over to the box office, which we still will, at least somewhat. But the major news today was what Disney was doing with its slate, not only for 2023, which I don't think they adjusted anything much there, because it's all kind of set in stone at this point. But for 2024, 2025, 2026, and beyond, all the way to 2031 with Avatar. So Scott Gustin's reporting here, Disney is making major changes to its release calendar, including a new, quote, Star Wars movie for December 2026, delaying the Avatar movies and pushing back its Marvel slate. And we have to assume that Star Wars movie is probably going to be Dave Filoni's, but we'll get into that in just a second. The bigger news here is Avatar 3 was pushed back from December 2024, December 2025. Avatar 4 is now set to release in 2029, which I believe, George, I think you had Avatar 4 being released at 2026.
Correct. It's a 3-year difference.
And then I believe Avatar 5 was supposed to come out in 2028. Is that
2028, and now it's 2031.
Oh, this is some major news here, and a lot of people in the comments section, by the way, were not too thrilled with having this news come out of here. A lot of people were like, "Wow, imagine if you Imagine if you were one of the original OG watchers of Avatar back in 2009, and now you have to wait 22 years for the fifth and final installment.
Well, that's the one that surprised me the most out of everything, because I mean they were such on this hype train with Avatar. Iger announcing that they're going to add an experience at Disneyland. The Way of Water was a phenomenal success at the box office, and they were worried, including Cameron. They actually had to, showcase this thing even at the expo and re-releasing the original Avatar. I apologize. We got the hype train going on here.
Hold on. You know what that means, everybody? When the hype train goes by, we have to drop a track switch.
Oh no! I must have hit that track switch!
There we go. Continue, Mr. Citrus George.
Yes. Just to the fact that they had to re-release the original just to see if people were still interested in this, and people are. Why would you then get off the hype train, no pun intended, and delay it much more when this could also tie into some major delays even with adding more Avatar experiences to the parks?
Well, the weird thing about the Avatar stuff, like I understand the delays overall with all these different studios because we have the writer strike happening right now. So this is kind of expected for the most part. This is going to happen. But the issue though with the Avatar stuff is that Cameron filmed all this stuff already. Like it's already like that's why the budget was so high, right, Dre? That he filmed like 2 or 3 sequels together.
He did it.
So,
he did it. What I like to call it, like Peter Jackson did with the Lord of the Rings.
Right. This is what's so perplexing about this is because James Cameron, not even just saying that the production for those things is complete, but that they're in the can waiting to be released. Right. At least 3 and 4 are. 5 is currently in production, according to him. So this is extra perplexing because there's nothing to prevent them from, even stepping these up. Even sooner than they were going to come out. To push them back is a bizarre choice. I'm still trying to kind of wrap my head around it, and maybe I had to, look at some, do a deeper dive and some additional analysis. Which, if I find anything in my research, I'll go ahead and let you guys know at the earliest onset. But right now, I'm still trying to wrap my head around this. I believe OG, our good friend Aldia in the chat, actually had some interesting kind of theories surrounding all this.
Yeah, she was saying that like maybe it's connected to the theme park stuff, like at Disneyland. Like maybe they're pushing these out so it coincides better with like the new lands opening, or land at Disneyland, and then maybe in Animal Kingdom if they get like the same land. It's possible. Maybe that's what they're trying to like coordinate with the Avatar stuff, because it doesn't seem like the next couple movies for Avatar, the writer strike would have any impact on it. So it's very, very strange.
But yet at the same time, Cameron also had been in coerced with Iger, kind of even pushing him to even update things for Flight of Passage at Animal Kingdom. So it does make sense if you look at it in that sense, but I don't know. Like I still don't like everything else. I can kind of understand, especially like not even knowing Kennedy's fate right now with Lucasfilm and just the studios in general. I think that even Disney now knows that part of the company is taking a hard hit right now. So to just keep on releasing these things where they're not making really any money, it's like they're trying to delay it and try to stretch it out to where it can make a profit.
Well, and that makes sense for other releases, right? Captain America: Brave New World, for example. Maybe you had to change that up. It was going to be called New World Order, but now that's a different title entirely. Maybe the story itself has changed because of that. So I can understand,
Yeah, but not Avatar. Avatar, like when I heard Avatar, like that threw me off completely.
Well, and the idea of updating Flight of Passage can still happen. There's nothing preventing that necessarily. But this is the best performing movie in the post-pandemic era by a long shot. It just doesn't make much sense to delay it this much. Now, to Alia's theme park kind of thesis here, there is I think a philosophy behind this that kind of makes sense, right? If you look at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, for instance, a lot of people felt that maybe they struck while the iron was just cooling on that, right? It's again 2019 is not quite 2015 where everybody was hyped. Everybody, Force Awakens just comes out and it's like, oh man, we'll take anything Star Wars. 2019 when this thing debuts, people are starting to see the sequel trilogy maybe somewhat differently than they did. Versus Super Mario Brothers opening up, with Super Nintendo Land in Hollywood, that's doing gangbusters business. Maybe an executive is thinking that possible.
No, I don't mean to sound like a negative Nancy or anything, but just to say, God forbid, with the next sequels of the Avatar, what if they come out and they don't do so well? Do you think they're kind of relying on their laurels a little bit too much? Do you think that's why they should strike while the iron is hot, being that The Way of Water was a commercial success the way that it was?
And there are some Imagineers who are waiting for these films to be released in order to start work on, developing these ideas because they want more material in which to pull from. Go ahead.
Sorry, just really quick. Sorry, OG. And Iger even mentioned it, so the fact that he even mentioned that Avatar is coming to Disneyland, I mean, it's not like they take an attraction and they take 6 years just to finish it.
Yeah, well, here's another interesting thing, and I'm not a lawyer. I'm not schooled in contracts and all that, legalese. But is it possible, because we know that James Cameron had a deal with Fox in regards to the streaming platforms on where, Way of Water would go once it left theaters, right? And that's why you're seeing it on Max and Disney Plus right now. I mean, they already had that deal. Is it possible that Disney's trying to get around that by pushing these out enough where it kind of like goes beyond Cameron's like contract? So when these movies do come out, they go straight to Disney Plus or Hulu? Is that a possibility, or am I off base there?
Yeah, that's a possibility, but I don't know. It doesn't make sense to screw James Cameron out of any royalties or anything connected with those contracts. I don't know about that. It's an interesting idea. Okay. Let's try to figure this out here. So they announced Avatar coming to Disney Cinema Kingdom back in 2011, right?
Correct.
Okay, and Avatar doesn't open, or Pandora the World of Avatar, until 2017?
May 27th, 2017.
Okay, so that took 6 years, right?
Correct.
Avatar 4 comes out in 2029.
Mm-hmm.
6 years from today.
All right.
It's an interesting idea.
Okay.
It's an interesting idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only issue with that though is that's from today. Like that's from now. We haven't even had an announcement yet. They haven't broken ground. I mean, it's like,
I should say this year.
Well, I
know what you meant.
I think honestly, they're going to make that announcement at the expo.
You think so?
I think so.
Technically, they have made an announcement, right? They, Iger himself.
Well, let me rephrase it. Sorry. Let me rephrase it. I think they're going to give us a little bit more at the expo.
I'm going to flesh it out at the expo.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, the Avatar stuff is the biggest shocker to me. The Marvel stuff, a lot of that stuff, it definitely impacted by the writer strike.
Okay.
The Star Wars stuff definitely impacted by the writer strike.
Wait, so before we go on that real quick, so if the expo would be around August, September of 2024, there's 2031.
Yeah, that's
7 years.
That's 2031. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what they're doing. And maybe they're coordinating it with Cameron. Maybe because I know Cameron's real big on the parks. I know he loves the parks.
Well, that just settles it. Let's get Cameron on. OG, come on, just speed dial him. Let's get him on here.
Can we reach Cameron somehow? Can we get him on? Can we get him on the record here?
Let's do it.
It's an interesting idea. I'm not saying that it doesn't have anything to do with the theme parks. It's just usually you don't move, like the studio doesn't move for the parks. The parks move for the studio. Right? That's usually how that relationship works.
Right.
It's a very interesting thing here, but they must be being delayed, or somebody decided to delay them for some reason. I just don't know why.
Can I ask you, fellas, not to go off of that? Now, I was going through these lists, but correct me if I missed anything.
Sure.
Was there anything that was missed that's delayed from Pixar? Because I didn't see anything from Pixar.
Let's see. I see a bunch of Star Wars. Alien, even an Alien movie. Wow. Okay.
Is Thunderbolt still going forward? By the way.
Yeah, that's Marvel. That's the one with I think Harrison Ford's in that one is Red Hulk, I believe actually.
Oh really? Okay.
Yeah, that one's still going forward.
Kind of like I heard Blade, Thunderbolts, and a couple of others were kind of like they had their productions stopped. Now, obviously because of the writer's strike, but maybe for some other reasons as well.
It's interesting. I don't see any animation actually in here. Untitled Disney might be an animation. I don't know.
So could that possibly be that eventually they may just fuse both studios together as one?
Yeah. That's the speculation that has been going around the industry for quite some time, and even some investors and so forth want them to do that.
Well, look at this list. Okay, we have Pixar. The Elio is Pixar in the very top.
Okay.
Oh, but see, they're not calling them Pixar there. They're just calling them Disney.
They're just calling them Disney.
So the untitled Disneys might be Pixar's. We don't know. Oh, Inside Out 2.
Inside Out 2.
Yeah.
Untitled Disney Animation. So they do have
a distinction.
Some distinctions here, yeah.
Oh, here's Pixar.
Untitled Pixar. There we go. Okay.
Yeah. And that Moana live action, I don't know. I think it's too soon for Moana.
That is way too soon. That is way too soon.
Well, yeah. It's speaking of live action for the studio. Should we get into this a little bit here?
Yeah.
Okay. well, hang on, George. Hang on. I'm going to get to you in a moment. Here.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
If we're talking money, we got to do the drop. You know that, right?
Let's do it.
Everyone silent. Listen to my money talk.
There we go. We can proceed.
All right. The Little Mermaid crossed the 400 million mark globally after grossing $29.9 million on third weekend overseas, including solid Japanese debut. Strong hold, minus 29.3%. Very good. $185.4 million international cum over 52 markets, added $228.8 million in the U.S. Ariel hits a $412.2 global cum at box office, eyeing a $580 million to $640 million global run. Now, George, you actually saw the movie.
I did.
Right.
What'd you think?
Give me a minute. Okay.
You want to take another sip before we go? You might want to do another one.
One more.
Go ahead.
Go.
We'll wait.
Okay.
This is great.
This movie, I'm sorry, was the worst Disney live action that.
Oh
yes.
my God! Are you kidding? Really?
Yeah.
That's wild.
What set it over for me now? Halle Bailey, I thought she did a really good job portraying Ariel. I will say that she was very likable. You know, you can kind of connect with her. You can kind of relate to her. Actually, the one character that I found that was very interesting that they gave a more in-depth creative arc to was actually Prince Eric out of all the characters. That's
what I'm hearing. Actually, the character that I'm the most worried about, I haven't seen the movie. The character I'm the most worried about is Scuttle, because I do not like Awkwafina as an actress. I'm sure she's a lovely lady, a young woman. I don't like her as an actress. She kind of ruined Raya the Last Dragon for me, to be honest. Her voice is just like, it's too much, and she's kind of obnoxious. Go ahead, George.
Can I ask you, OG, have you ever had your bleeding ears before?
Have I heard bleeding ears? No, I have not.
You would.
Yeah.
It's
that rap.
The song.
The
song is like, it is so cringy that it is like it's almost to where they tried too hard to push everything. Sebastian, the actor who portrayed him, it almost like you can hear the actor reading the lines. Like he wasn't really, it was, and what really did this in for me was the CGI. The CGI, and I actually said this to Dre when we were at Disneyland. He said, "Can you compare it to anything?" And I said, "Well, take Spy Kids and Sharknado.
Oh, geez, Sharknado. That's
Man.
crazy. Yeah, well, the CGI, from what I've seen on the trailer and stuff, was not good. Halle Bailey, this movie has a lot of problems from what I hear, but Halle Bailey ain't one of them. She's the best thing about this movie, and that's probably the only thing that would ever get me in the theater to see it.
She is the reason why I gave it a 4. Otherwise, it would have got a 2.
Yeah,
for me.
That's wild, man.
Yeah, they made some story changes on behalf of modern audiences, and sorry about that. R2 wanted to chime in as well.
There we go. Watch your language, R2. Watch your language, young man.
Exactly right. Exactly. Oh no, he was listening to that rap here. Yeah, he didn't have.
Oh, there you go.
It was
Didn't
bad.
like it.
It was bad.
That's basically Aquafina.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. I feel terrible because I'm sure she's great, but like as a person, but like I don't like her acting. I mean, she was tolerable in Shang-Chi. She was okay in that.
See, but that's the same issue of how they choose these actors, and it's just like with Melissa McCarthy. She was okay as Ursula, but actually how Dre actually said it when I was trying to describe it, he said, so it's Melissa McCarthy portraying Ursula, and that's exactly what it is. It's not her changing into a character. It's like, it's just the typical Melissa McCarthy. It's like you see that she tries to be serious, but you can always see that kind of slapsticky type of comedy, and it's like, you could have gone with something so much different.
Well, it's weird because the story changes are the ones that are most profound to me. Like, for example, she's not necessarily, it's not love at first sight for Ariel. So her obsession with, going above the surface, I agree that she, wants something different in her life for sure. But then she gets into a conflict with her father and the statue and everything. And now that takes on a whole different meaning right there.
Right.
And
then what they did to kind of take that away, because of those scenes, they added a little bit more to Ursula's spell, that once she turns her human, she is to forget about to have to kiss Eric by the 3rd day.
Why would she ever do that if she doesn't love him?
There's no relevance to it. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, so that's an interesting idea there.
And so sorry, just really quick. And then for the kiss the girl scene, how in the animated, when Sebastian said we have to set the mood, they took that line out.
Yeah. And then there's even a line in the new song where it's like you have to ask her kind of thing.
You have to. Yeah.
It's like,
well, I mean, okay.
Okay.
But like, it's always been, and I haven't seen this version of it, but it's always been, Ariel has always been interested in Eric, like obviously interested in him. It's not like she was like running from this guy and like it wasn't like a Pepe Le Pew thing or something. Like she was into it. So now she has. It's just weird. And then she signs the contract with Ursula. That's your consent right there.
Right. That's an interesting idea. Ooh, I never thought about that. But OG, you're exactly correct. She already gave away her consent, or at least she should have. Okay. Well, and then Eric doesn't kill Ursula at the end, right, George?
Nope.
It's Ariel that kills Ursula because, well, we had to have the very strong and independent female, right?
Yeah, you can't have a damsel in distress.
The problem with that, though, is that King Triton, the idea of Eric killing Ursula, it provided a reason for King Triton to trust Eric with his daughter, right? And to kind of go against, this kind of this rule at the that the Mer people had to interact with humans at all, right? You having Ariel kill Ursula doesn't really provide for that at the end. So why did they get together at all? They're just I think it was a modernization that wasn't fully formed, right? Rushed into production, and then in the events of the pandemic, now it's like, okay, we have to institute all these different procedures now in order to film during this whole thing, which racked up the costs even more. And now you've changed it to a point where it's it's not necessarily as palatable with audiences
Yeah.
if you had just followed the original Little Mermaid. And here's the thing: the Little Mermaid, how transformational of a film that was for Disney Animation, right?
Absolutely.
It set them on a completely different course regarding the Disney Renaissance and so forth, and the VHS sales. I mean, this was one of their most popular characters of all time, and to have this film maybe not even make back its production costs or its investment, I should say, when you add in marketing and advertising. That's a very big disappointment here,
Or the amount of money that they put in, yeah, as you said, like for the advertising, the promoting, the marketing, and now you don't hear no one even talking about it. I mean, I was just recently at Hollywood Studios in One Man's Dream, where they have like the 15-20 minute little segment that they usually have about Walt Disney. People were lining up to go into the theater. Well, little did they know this was going to be a 20-minute preview of the live action Little Mermaid, and everybody just whoop about faced and walked right out of the building.
I mean, but to be fair though, actually, like it has been having some pretty solid holds from weekend to weekend. Like you can see here, like it didn't fall off the cliff like Fast X did. I mean, it's holding its own against the pretty significant competition with Spider-Verse and what have you. You know, you're on mute.
You're on mute, brother.
Do apologize. In the U.S., maybe I have to look at more of those international numbers, but it should have really broken out big in the various Asian markets. I mean, we know why it did not. It should have.
Japan did though. Here it says it opened pretty solid.
It's pretty solid, but it's still way under where the previous live action films have been. Whether you want to talk about a white cast, diverse cast, whatever, it just did not perform in the way that they were hoping for, especially internationally. Had to do more domestically in order to overcome those, and it just didn't.
Yeah.
Now this is interesting.
I mean, I personally feel like, and I'm going to be very bold of saying this, I really think that they should stay off the agenda train and really focus on story, character, and honestly your CGI technology, because some of those scenes, it literally looks like they pasted the actor's face to a CGI body.
Now if we remember here, I'll go ahead and take us to here. I got to bring it up because, well, Bob Iger himself brought it up, right? All right, let's see. Here we go. Bob Iger. Well, I think a lot of them, of course, but they're all my babies. This is him talking about the franchises, IPs like Marvel, Lucasfilm, Pixar, etc. They're all my babies in a way. Disney is very strong. It's the most powerful brand in certainly family entertainment. And we have a film coming up, Little Mermaid, in live action. And I think when you see that, it will remind you of just how strong the brand is. Well, guess what?
Yeah.
The brand might not even break even. So that's a big, big problem in a sea of problems that they have at the box office.
No pun intended.
Yeah, no, I like that. That was good. That was good. No, like yeah, but see, that was the thing that Iger really shit the bed on when he set that expectation with a movie that wasn't out yet. And I get it. Maybe the internal tracking was really good. Maybe the internal surveys were really good. Maybe he had all the good numbers to point to a huge movie. A lot of the trades were saying this might be $1 billion movie. That's fine, but you're still gambling though. When you do that, you gamble. He should have said, "Way of Water shows, the strength of the brand," right? Something that was a proven success. You can't change history. With this, you don't know. If it dies a dog's death at the box office, now you look foolish. And here we go.
Way of Water is the most successful movie post-pandemic. There is just no question. Why not hinge your bets on that one? Oh, gee, that was already a surefire success at the time that he made those comments back in, I believe, March of this year, right? At the Morgan Stanley conference. It's like, why not do that? That's a very odd choice. And then to set Avatar back even further. Again, a lot of odd choices here for sure.
I just have one last final thing to say about this movie. Just one last final thing.
There you go. Bottoms up, George. Bottoms up. Too funny. All right, let's move on.
Sorry about that. Speaking about how well industry is doing right now. It's interesting. You had the top 5 distributors for U.S. film product here. So it's Universal at $1 billion right now, Disney at $800 million, Sony at $400 million, Paramount at $322 million, and Lionsgate at $316 million, buoyed mainly
Where's
by John
WB?
Wick.
Where's WB? That's weird.
Oh, yeah. Where is WB? Are they not on the top 5? They might not be.
But yet Lionsgate isn't shown their emblem on the. Did they make a boo boo?
I think
This is Luis Ferrando. Okay.
Yeah, I think
I can't speak to how he does this. I think it's that's just the top biggest studios in the US, just a graphic for there. If they're not represented, that's fine. But John Wick was a high performer, which is why Lionsgate I think is up on that chart right there. Universal's really killing it. Somewhat, right? I think I was hearing, from Tom at Midnight's Edge, he was saying that Cocaine Bear wasn't as successful as people may have thought. That Fast X
not making a profit.
Right?
And then we got this DreamWorks movie, Teenage Kraken, that is tracking for an $8 million opening weekend. That's abysmal. $8 million? It's not even double digits. I mean, and that's a DreamWorks animated film. I mean, that movie probably cost Universal probably $100 million to make. This movie's going to be one of the biggest flops of the year if that tracking still holds.
Yeah, that's going to be real bad there.
Well, that trailer was that trailer was cringeworthy to watch. I'm like, what is this? Like, who are these people that are actually writing these stories? It's like I don't get it.
Do we know how big the marketing spend was on that was? Because I haven't seen much from it. Maybe it's just because I just decided, hey, you know what? This movie wasn't going to be that good. Maybe they're going to pull a Strange World, right? It's like, let's not give it a big marketing spend on that whole thing. But I will say, though, I mean, the whole slate, for all of these studios has been kind of soft. I think with the one exception of Mario this year anyway, right? It just hasn't been...
And Spider-Verse, I think, was solid.
Spider-Verse was solid, yeah, but a few years ago, does that movie make maybe double when it debuts? I mean, it's all been kind of soft, right?
What do you fellas think about Elemental? Because that's that one can kind of go either way.
Look, it's up to, on the Rotten Tomatoes score, it's up to 80. That's good. I mean, I know a lot of people are still talking shit about 80. 80 is 8 out of 10. That's a good score, you guys. That's a good score. But it's still tracking at like $35 million opening weekend. And, it needs to get that number up. I mean, that's way too low.
Can we not have this stuff debut at Cannes? It's just they are simply not receptive to big market, product, films. They're the indie art house guys. That's who they are, right? But if you take a big movie like this to Cannes, they're gonna rip you to shreds here. Go ahead.
But there was even people that were ripping it on social media too, because they were literally a lot of people. They kept on posting the side-by-side movie poster of Elemental next to Inside Out, and they say it's almost like a mirror of the same. So I wonder if just a lot of people just think it's just a repetitive type of storyline, and it's not really piquing their interest, because they're also going to now come out with a sequel to Inside Out. Right. So it's like, are they cannibalizing that type of same storyline?
Well, people complain, and this is what I talk about all the time with fans. When I say fans don't know what they want, I mean fans don't know what they want. People complain all the time when we get a bunch of sequels. Oh, I don't want this sequels. Oh God, can't Pixar do original stuff? Can't Disney do original stuff? Okay, but then the sequels like Frozen 2 and shit like that makes like $1.5 billion, right? They finally do original stuff like Elemental, and the fans sit on their hands and don't go see it. I mean, well, look, they're going to make what makes money. They're going to make what makes them money. And if you guys aren't going to go to the original movies, they're not going to make the original movies. That's why we're getting Frozen 3. That's why we're getting Toy Story 5. That's why we're getting Inside Out 2, because no one goes to the originals. The originals have not been performing well, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I'm looking up the Elemental box office tracking right now.
What do we got?
If I can pull it up right here. I'm looking for
Which I am actually going to go see it, and Spider-Verse. I'm going to do a double movie
Oh,
feature
cool.
this weekend. So
Cool. Yeah, last time I checked, it was like 35. It wasn't.
Yeah. Disney's Pixar seeks return of box office magic with Elemental. This came out, I think, today.
Yeah.
Yeah, the stakes are high for Elemental, a tale of overcoming outward differences. Here, I'll go ahead and share my screen here. There you go. This is via Reuters. If we see here, the stakes are high for Elemental, a tale of overcoming outward differences. The movie is projected to debut with a modest $31 million to $41 million this weekend in the U.S. This was just published today, by the way, according to Box Office Pro's website, which is I was trying to get that number, but I had to learn to navigate that website a little bit better than I currently do. This is well shy of the recent $120 million haul for Sony's critically acclaimed animated hit, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. And to your point, OG, that's a continuing story, right? And based on an IP that's been developed for, half a century at this point.
Yeah,
So
it's a little bit
this
of
is not an
unfair
original idea.
It's a little unfair of them to kind of bring that up. I get it.
Animated film.
Animated film, but Spider-Man is like basically our grandparents' age at this point as a franchise, and it has decades of fan support. Same with Mario. I mean, you're talking a 40+ year franchise. Elemental is brand new out the gate. Well, this is a new thing for everybody, so it's going to be different. But still, 31 to 41 million is pretty low. I will say this Box Office Pro though is very conservative. Our friend Jonas has mentioned that on Twitter. Box Office Pro had Transformers a lot lower than what it actually is doing. Right. So it's possible that Elemental outperforms this number, but
if it doesn't, I mean, this kind of ties into why Disney is pushing all these films back, because if Elemental doesn't do well at the box office, what does that look for Pete Docter? If Indiana Jones fails to compute, we all know what's going to happen with Kennedy.
Yeah,
she's done. I'm telling you.
We've seen this story around here. Deadline: Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny to ring up around $60 million opening. July early box office outlook. Go ahead.
I just want to say one thing, dude. And I'm not going to say names, but someone on Twitter yesterday said that I was misogynist because I think that Kathleen Kennedy needs to go. Look, here's the thing with that, okay? She's not doing a good job. I don't care if she's a woman. I've said many times on this channel, Dana Walden is my choice for the next CEO. I think she's the one on the short list that I think makes the most sense to succeed Bob Iger. And if she gets that position, she has more power than Kathleen Kennedy. I don't give a fuck that Kathleen Kennedy is a woman. What I care about is that she sucks running the studio, period. She might be a great producer. She does not know how to run the studio. It's been a disaster with the directors, falling off and the whole thing. It's too much. She needs to go.
And I'm just so sick and tired of people saying, okay, well, you don't like this person because of their ethnic background, or you don't like them because you're anti-feministic because she's a woman, yada, yada, yada. We care about here the fact, can you do the job? If you're a man, if you're a woman, whether you're white, black, brown, yellow, red, blue, green, orange, who gives a fuck? We just care about that you're able to do the job of what you're supposed to do, of what you're getting paid for. Point blank.
Right.
Look, and it's a performance-based industry, guys.
Yes.
Come on. And even in the recent history, okay, let's go ahead and let's put a pin on this story right now with the Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Let's go to another story here that we just actually learned about. This is how Andor broke Star Wars rules to reinvent sci-fi TV. This is via the Hollywood Reporter, and it goes on about how they they invested heavily into its production, got some amazing costume designers, got some production designers, all good things, but this all comes at a price. And the price listed here, if I can go ahead and scroll down, looking back, Gilroy sees Andor as a minor miracle given its steep cost, estimated at $250 million. $250 million. And I don't know about you guys, but did this even crack the top 10 in terms of streaming shows when it actually debuted? If it didn't stay there long. This thing was seen and then unseen as soon as it actually came out. I mean, this is a ginormous cost for the show that nobody actually saw. So strike one against Kennedy. And this is just, by the way, within the last couple of months. Let's go ahead and let's add on Willow.
Willow,
by the way, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's probably what, plus 100 million show easy. Didn't even last 6 months on the platform Disney Plus that it was built for before it was taken off unceremoniously.
Right. Because
they promoted the shit out of that show.
They did. And it was more beneficial for that thing to be taken off and used as a tax write-off than it was to keep it on the platform to tell you how successful it was. And I'm not talking shit about the show because our friend Alia loves it. So Alia, out of respect for you, I'm not gonna say a word, but it's the truth. I mean, it was more beneficial to them to remove it for that tax write-off than it would be to keep it on. This is all Kathleen Kennedy, you guys. You know, we've had more directors in and out of projects getting fired than the movies that have been made. Mm-hmm. She has fired more directors than have made movies. And I don't even know if this Indiana Jones 5 tanks at the box office, we might add another director to the list with James Mangold. They might cancel his Star Wars movie because that's what she does. She picks the hot director at the time, and then they have a movie like Patty Jenkins did with Wonder Woman 2, and then she fires them or scheduling differences or some other fucking bullshit, you know?
Now, with all the people that did get removed and let go from their positions, like because of the failures of like Lightyear and Strange World and what have you, were they connected at all, do we know, with these future films that could have possibly set them back too?
Let's go ahead and go through the list, shall we, George? David Benioff, D.B. Weiss. Well, we know that those, whatever trilogy that they had in mind, you know that's not happening. Gareth Edwards, well, they went through him and through Rogue One. Didn't even have him finish the edit on that movie before they ran him out of there. Rian Johnson, who knows if he's coming back or not. He seems to be quite content over there, I believe, at Netflix, creating his Knives Out series right there. Colin Trevorrow, well, we all know what happened to him, right? Episode 9, he was supposed to direct it, and all of a sudden, he walks away, participates in the Jurassic World franchise, and, well, we never hear about him again as associated with Star Wars. Phil Lord, Christopher Miller, y'all know what happened there, right? They produce 85% of Solo before Kathleen Kennedy realizes, I made the wrong decision. Got to run them out of there. They have great success with Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Now it's looking like that is going to be a trilogy. Meanwhile, they have Ron Howard go back in there and try to spend even more money reshooting scenes, trying to salvage this film. And ultimately, that's the first one that loses money as connected to the Star Wars brand. Now we won't have a Star Wars movie confirmed until at least 2026. So that's good stuff. What is it, 8 years after Solo comes out? That's awesome. Josh Trank, right? We all remember what happened to him. Remember
Boba Fett movie?
Yep,
Boba
remember
Fett
he was
movie?
the hot director? Got to get him in there? Boba Fett movie? Well, he's gone. Can't have him anymore because of his stuff. Now, again, maybe not all Kathleen Kennedy's fault right there, but you have to be able to delineate between talent. Clearly, she has problems right there. Patty Jenkins, remember she was going to have her Rogue Squadron film? Where's that going? I don't know. Taika Waititi, remember he was going to have a Star Wars film?
What's happening with that?
Yeah,
apparently he doesn't even have a script, right? That's what I'm hearing, but it's coming soon. Apparently, I don't know.
Doesn't have a script, but if you talk to Chris Hemsworth, interestingly enough, he doesn't want anything to do with him ever again with Thor or connected to the Marvel Cinematic Universe or whatever. So you have people who are not super enthused about what Taika Waititi has produced. Kevin Feige, remember he was going to produce something for Star Wars? Where's his stuff?
But Dre, hold on one second. Just because the Hollywood Reporter and all the trades reported Kevin Feige was doing a Star Wars movie doesn't mean they were doing a Star Wars movie. Kennedy said that was just fan rumor. So,
yes.
Remember?
Yes.
Yeah. So we were all crazy. It was us. It was on us, bro.
Right.
It was on us.
Even though there were articles and trades, and even statements suggesting that Kevin Feige was actually involved. I believe Alan Horn said something about it back in the day. So,
bro, don't believe your lying eyes. They were all lying. Kennedy said it was false. Don't worry about
Right.
it.
I love the gaslighting. I love that's great. And let's not forget the recent struggles with creatives like Damon Lindelof, Justin Britt Gibson, Michael Waldron, Karen McCarthy, who, by the way, they're actually going through an arbitration settlement right now in order to handle that thing that materialized out of the crap show that is what is it, Acolyte or whatever. Choden and Button Blown, we're not going to get that. Droid Story, Boba Fett film, Rogue Squadron, Rangers of the New Republic, we're not going to get any of those. We're not going to get the Lando film. And again, we have run all kinds of talent out of the studio, not just limited to Junior Carano, but John Boyega has been in it again, out again, all that. It's a nightmare. This is 10 years, by the way, running the studio.
Now, Dre, I'm glad you ran all that down. Now let's get to the relevant stuff.
Exactly, right? Exactly. This is why OG. And by the way, $60 million opening for one of the most expensive movies ever produced. I mean, right. the closest example that I can see to this, if this holds right here, is going to be like a Waterworld situation, okay? And that's going to be devastating for the entire company, and especially Lucasfilm. And you're supposed to be a misogynist for wanting her out? Ridiculous. But ridiculous. You can see why she's still in there.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. This is going to be, you're right, Dre. If this holds, this is devastating. You think Solo was bad? You think that the ramifications for that were bad? Just
Solo debuted at $84 million.
Right.
And it didn't have nearly the budget as this. Now, it was very high, but that was 84, and we know that was a certified flop. This is 60, and an even higher budget than that.
And that's not even including inflation. It was probably closer to 100 million.
Right.
If you were to include all the inflation stuff.
Exactly.
Not to mention that this is a film that you can't redo with another sequel. This is it. This is Harrison Ford's last ride donning the hat and whip. And it's like, this is the justice that you give him, a character that he portrayed for over 30, 40 plus years.
And there are some ancillary sales that go along with Solo, right? There's some Star Wars product that you can put out. You can kind of recover, some of that loss up, with these other distinct avenues of making revenue. Indiana Jones just doesn't have that. They don't have the same consumer footprint when it comes to consumer product and so forth, and the same enthusiasm for that. So this is going to be a lot harder to overcome for the entire studio. It just is. And yeah. Look at all of the things that have gone wrong with Lucasfilm. And by the way, it's not just limited to one franchise. It's now 3 franchises. 3 strikes, you're out, you're gone. She's the only commonality between all of these things.
And Dre, if you could actually bring up really quick, since we're on this subject, because with the overseas box office of this film, of how it actually can show based off of the Indiana Jones attraction that's over in Tokyo that you had brought up to me while I was at Disney World. Nope, you're on mute, brother.
You're on mute, Dre.
Sorry about that. This is interesting. Sorry, I'm so enthusiastic.
Yes.
This is interesting. So Tokyo Disneyland is bringing back a fast pass type system. Let me see if I can find that story here. I didn't know we were going to bring this up, but it's okay. I got it. I believe Walt Disney World Pro had this. Yes. And I think it's right.
And I bring this up because this kind of would tie into like the overall outlook as why this film would do bad overseas.
Yeah. And by the way, this is WDWNT.
Right. WDW News Today. I believe. Oh, this is the article? Yeah. The only park around the world to reintroduce free line skipping similar to Fast Pass after the COVID-19 pandemic last summer. And the following attractions will offer the Priority Pass, and you can see Indiana Jones Adventure Temple of the Crystal Skull right there. Now, that is not part of Disney's Premier Access Upcharge service, which will only include Enchanted Tale of Beauty and the Beast, The Happy Ride with Baymax, Splash Mountain at Tokyo Disneyland, as well as Soaring, Fantastic Flight, Journey to the Center of the Earth, Tower of Terror, and Toy Story Movie Mania at Tokyo Disney Sea. So this is going to be the Indiana Jones is going to be part of the free Fast Pass service.
Okay.
While these other attractions are going to be part of their kind of premier upcharge service. Okay, so that's how they're delineating between those.
So are you guys trying to make the argument like the franchise took a hit.
It just doesn't play well overseas.
Yeah.
Now, I had my own run-ins with somebody on Twitter there, OG. I'm not going to name names. That wouldn't be fair. But the suggestion was, well, it'll make it all up and overseas. And it's like, okay, many of the markets that service that international cume, those 52 markets that Luis Fernando talked about, a lot of those hadn't had any of the Indiana Jones films distributed in their countries at all. Okay, they don't know the Indiana Jones franchise like us Americans do, as inherited from back in the 80s, right?
Right.
This was the same problem that Star Wars had, getting kind of international traction when it came to the sequel films. Some markets just weren't as exposed to Star Wars as we were at home. We're assuming that they're all going to come out in droves for this, based on what?
And I also mentioned to you too, Dre, over the phone when I was still down at Walt Disney World. Go figure that that the demographics, our kids today into Indiana Jones. If you was to go to say the age range between 8 years old and even just say 13. If you say Indiana Jones, how many of those kids would really say they know who you're talking about? Well, So do you think the demographic that could actually hurt the box office because it's more leaning towards the older generation?
Well, it will. And a big issue with this franchise right now, and it's no fault of Harrison, but it is an element of this equation, is that he's 80 years old. He's not the 35-year-old dude that he was when he was doing Temple of Doom and stuff. So it's an old man playing the role now. And if you're a Zoomer, some young kid, you're going to probably want to go see Spider-Verse instead. I don't.
The early tracking, it's interesting you bring this up, George, because the early tracking for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, I was trying to find in this article, but they don't necessarily include it. What is making up the bulk of the $60 million figure that is quoted here by Anthony D'Alessandro from Deadline is the majority of it being like 35 through 50-year-olds are coming out for this film and buying tickets or are interested in the product, whereas 18 to 35 really hard sell. They are not getting much traction with that very, very important demo at all. So that's gonna be an issue for this film.
It is, and I can see that. I could see young kids not giving a shit. I don't know, man. This is, I'm telling you. And look, I know it sounds, I almost hate even bringing it up because a lot of YouTube has ruined the whole Kathleen Kennedy rumor mill, in a big way. But this is the end of the road, I think, for her at Lucasfilm, because I just,
it has to be.
You do already she's on thin ice, I think, with Bob Iger, because you're seeing hit pieces in the trades directed at her. Okay. These are, that would not be happening if they weren't approved by Bob Iger. Okay. This is what he does. We saw it when Chapek was CEO, all the hit pieces on him, even Puck was talking about how a lot of these are commissioned to, from Camp Iger to take down Chapes. You're seeing the same tactic with Kennedy. She's already on shaky ground. This thing comes out, opens at $60 million. She's out, dude. She is out. There's no way she can survive this. This would be a disaster. You have no idea. With a $340 million production budget. That's not even including the marketing.
Not even including the marketing, which is wild. I mean, that is a very expensive production. We're getting up to Avatar type numbers here. But OG, I have a solution.
No, really quick before your solution, Dre.
Okay.
What was the number you quoted me when I was talking to you that what would the magic number be if for it to actually?
It's very easy to calculate. So, the suggestion is that's at least $300 million. There have been rumors that it might be more. So let's go ahead. Let's go conservative, $325 million just for simplicity's sake, right? Typically you have to add on, $100 million, $150 million ad spend, and that's worldwide in order to get people to come out to your film, right? So now we're looking at close to $500 million at that point. Well, remember, Disney only gets at most 50% of the box office from this film in the long haul. They might get a little bit more if they keep their. It's interesting that the theaters are doing it a little bit differently now. They might get a little bit more if they keep their product in their theaters for longer, right? So you might see like maybe like 60, 65 million in that first opening weekend, but evened out 50 million at the worldwide box office. Let's just put it at that. So you're talking, in order to break even on this film, well, if they're only getting 50% and you double what their investment was, we're talking close to $1 billion that they would have to make at least just to break even and then get into the green profit-wise.
Yeah. And you said $1 billion. That would be for both domestic and international.
Worldwide.
Yeah, worldwide.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and
it's not going to happen.
I'm sorry, Dre. So go ahead on what your solution.
Right. I have a solution, okay? Because I don't think that's gonna. I agree with you, OG. I don't think that's necessarily gonna happen. And if you saw people not show up for Little Mermaid, oh boy. But I have a solution here. We just gotta sell Lucasfilm.
Sell Lucasfilm, yeah, right. I know, right?
So
there you go.
We wanted to go ahead and put that one to bed, I think, right, OG here.
Yeah. Let's talk about that.
The news today of them adding to the slate, specifically Star Wars product, and kind of, getting it all kind of ready for, 2026, right? I believe in the summer, May 2022, 2026. And then another movie by December of 2026, and then another movie by 2027. That suggests right there that they are moving along with Lucasfilm Star Wars film product specifically, right? There is this rumor going on that, maybe Star Wars can be sold. And now it's switched from George Lucas to maybe a Saudi prince, which is an interesting idea. Now, it sounds ridiculous, right? But Disney has actually worked with the Saudis before, specifically when looking to get Disneyland Paris from the red to the black. They actually sold off a portion of Disneyland Paris in terms of ownership stake to a Saudi prince, just kind of get them over the hump. Now they've reacquired that. They now have a plus 90% stake in Disneyland Paris right now, so that's all behind them. So it's not like they haven't done things like that before, but for very specific reasons. The idea that they would be selling this, and I think the number going around is like $8 billion. It is ridiculous. Absolute, utter nonsense. This is not happening, folks. Anybody who's telling you that this is happening, you just might want to question those sources, right?
I think they should sweeten the deal and throw the Galactic Star Cruiser in the mix.
Right, exactly. Sweeten the deal. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make any sense, dude, to sell Lucasfilm. And look, here's the other thing too, that it's like Disney's like obsessed, right? And they should be obsessed with getting these streaming platforms, especially Disney Plus, profitable, right? The only real hit that Disney Plus has had on that platform was Mandalorian, which is a Lucasfilm property. That's the one thing the studio got right. Yes. And it's the one thing that's making them actual money for Disney Plus. Yeah. So let's go ahead and sell the studio, because now, okay, let's just say they sell Lucasfilm. How are you gonna justify that with Wall Street when you're trying to tell Wall Street we're gonna make streaming profitable? Now we're gonna sell the only fucking property that's making us any kind of money on Disney Plus to somebody else. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. And for what? So you can make, they say 8 billion, but it's not gonna be 8 billion. Let's say you make 5 billion. It's not even going to put a dent in Disney's debt anyway. So you lose this property now forever, and you're not even putting a dent in the debt load. Well, and I'll go ahead. I'll even add this to you, OG, because I think Valiant Renegade recently had a show. I think he clipped out a portion of his Sunday stream with, I think Script Doctor was on, Tom from Midnight's Edge, WW Pro, and himself, of course. And they were kind of breaking this down. Look, people might have problems with those individuals in some level, but on this, I thought they were very, very accurate and kind of played out the scenario of what they would have to accomplish to even have this thing, a deal like this, go through. The Star Wars is intrinsically linked
so far into the Disney machine, there's no kind of getting it out of it at this point. Just take the parks, for instance. You have a $2 billion investment in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, both here and at Walt Disney World. And it's like, are you going to have a licensing fee attached to those, which Disney will have to pay out for that? Will you separate the theme park rights in some way? I mean, that kind of hurts the deal, doesn't it? And if you do have them included, well, do you overlay these things now? I mean, that gets super messy, super fast, and that's just with one aspect, much less like Disney Plus, for example, right? When you have a show like Mandalorian on there and you have residuals that are supposed to be coming back, right? And you have contracts where that should stay and where money should be apportioned to. How do you even determine where that goes, right? I mean, that is just the tip of the iceberg. And here's the thing. Even if you go forward with a transaction, right? Even if you sell this thing, the stock hit that you would take to your stock price, to your market cap would be devastating. I mean, investors would get really, really afraid if you're selling off assets like Star Wars. So any money that you would get, any capital that you would get from the deal would be eaten up just from your valuation, your hit that you would take on the stock market.
Right.
It is absolutely insane.
Well, yeah, because Wall Street, they're not like fanboys like we are. You know what I'm saying? They're looking at Star Wars going, Star Wars and Marvel are the engine. They're the engine of really fueling the profitability for Disney Plus. That's the stuff that's going to feed this platform. And you go off and sell Lucasfilm, Wall Street's going to get real super worried. I mean, that's a disaster. And it makes no sense when Disney's a massive conglomerate. You have so much other stuff that you could sell without that negative impact, both financially and optically. It makes no sense to give out Lucasfilm. It really doesn't. And remember that Apple Vision commercial.
Just about to say that.
Right? They heavily leaned into Lucasfilm. The only property in the Disney wheelhouse, the only property in the Disney machine they didn't focus on in that Apple Vision commercial was Pixar. Now, if I'm Pixar, yes, I'm fucking worried. Lucasfilm has nothing to worry about. They are in there.
Yeah, no. Yeah, they're fine.
You don't dump the franchise because you've had, one person at the top of that thing for the last 10 years kind of screw it up. You replace that person. You try different strategies.
I always say if you have a wounded soldier with a bum leg, you don't shoot the soldier. You just cut off the leg.
Right.
I mean, makes sense. Not exactly wrong. So, just want to go ahead and put that to bed. I think it was put to bed today with the box office with the Slate. Sorry,
right.
But there you go, George.
And I get the argument where like this is Lucasfilm, like dates don't really matter, and that's definitely true. They don't really matter. But if everything was on hold, like the rumor states, at Lucasfilm, it's on hold because they're working on selling it. Then why even bring up the dates in the first place for Star Wars? Like if you think that they're just moving it just to do it, just to make it look like optics, whatever, to keep up appearances. But why even bring it up? Like why even make that move if they have no intention of keeping it? It doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. Go ahead, George.
No, I was just gonna well, if Dre, if you want to answer that question of OG's, because I was going to segue into my question to you guys about Marvel. So if you wanted to...
What was the question from OG? Let's go back here.
Oh, sorry. Did you just answer?
No,
you were just saying it's a hypothetical.
I was making a comment, yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Sorry. Okay, so anyway, Marvel. Now, obviously with Marvel, when it comes to... recently at the box office with like Love and Thunder... Doctor Strange 2, not so well, and they just kept on pushing it out of the pipeline. Like I just felt like there was like so much of Marvel, but specifically with Secret Wars and the Kang Dynasty, with that being pushed back, does that have any relevance to do with the allegations because they didn't really figure that out yet, or is
we can't say it didn't have any effect, but I think the bigger thing, for Bob Iger right now is that they just want to spread this stuff out. They can't necessarily reduce the volume right now at this point because you have too many people are working on this kind of stuff. But if you spread it out, that has the effect of a reduced volume at least per year, right? And that could help. That could help I think consumers kind of get back on board with Marvel if they just didn't have a release, 3 releases a year or whatever, combined with the television shows and all that. But it's kind of something I wanted to go ahead and bring up as one of our last topics of the day here. This is an article from Variety. Weak TV upfront market has advertisers pushing for pricing rollbacks. We talked about the advertising market as it related to the earnings call that Disney just recently had. And they talked about how their digital advertising segments of the company was a very kind of highly anticipated by Bob Iger himself. The potential was actually there, but I don't know. When you look at kind of the linear market, it's looking not so good here. So the bill may be coming due for continued declines in TV ratings. Advertisers are pressing for rollbacks or declines in the rates they pay for reaching TV viewers in early upfront talks with TV networks, according to 2 media buying executives and other people familiar with these annual discussions in which U.S. media companies try to sell the bulk of their commercial inventory ahead of the next cycle of programming. Agreements that include reductions in these rates, also known as CPMs, and a measure of the cost of reaching 1,000 viewers, have generally been extremely rare and offer a signal that a continued migration of viewers to streaming and digital video options is eroding the marketplace leverage of both traditional TV companies and some of their new tech rivals as well. It kind of goes on to detail some of the details of those rates and how much you'll see increases. So recent discussions have called for CPM increases of around 5% for the strongest TV properties like sports, but for rollbacks going as deep as -5% for weaker linear inventory and even for digital. -5. We're talking millions of dollars right there. That's a lot of money right there. Some networks have sought CPM increases as much as 7 to 8%, according to some of the people familiar with discussions. And there's a chance that some of the rollbacks could be even deeper in order to offset what they want for some of that big programming right there. But it does actually talk about Disney in here. So let me see if I can find that. Yeah, Disney is said to enjoy the most leverage in the marketplace, according to buyers, thanks to its large ESPN sports portfolio. Buyers said the company is also using Hulu, a mature streaming outlet that has always run advertising, to generate interest in its properties. Fox is said to be eager to move money to its Tubi streaming video hub and seems willing to be flexible when it comes to deals for its linear broadcast and cable networks. This is interesting about Warner Bros. Discovery right here. So Zazzy's having problems all over the place right here. Warner Bros. Discovery has backed off aggressive demands it wielded last year, buyers say, but the company's stance in 2022 angered many clients who may not bring their budgets back in full. A person familiar with the matter says that Warner Bros. Discovery is optimistic it can grow its share of ad dollars more than its rivals. So that's a real interesting thing right there. But it goes on. It talks about how Netflix and Amazon are also having problems. Amazon specifically because they bought a huge contract for Thursday Night Football, and that didn't really pan out for them. So they're looking to get some advertising dollars in there, and I just don't know if they're going to actually be there. Go ahead, OG.
Yeah, no, this is crazy. This is really hurting Disney right now. This advertising, all of them really, but we focus on Disney a lot here, so it's bad. It's bad, dude. I mean, this is really, I don't know. I don't know what they're how do you get out of this? What do you do?
I'll end it here. And this kind of gives you, a lowdown on what actually is going on industry wide right here. And another sign of the difficult market, Paramount Global is said to be seeking $6.5 million for a 30-second spot in its 2024 broadcast of Super Bowl, I believe 58. If I'm not mistaken right there, according to one of the executives familiar with discussions. The company is, at least for now, not pushing for big increases in price, as most networks typically do. That's interesting right there, but it goes on. Fox, which broadcast Super Bowl 57 to a record audience earlier this year, asked for $6 million to $7 million for 30-second spots, with some commercial berths going for more than $7 million. Paramount is likely to seek a match from Super Bowl sponsors. Even though historically the Super Bowl has had year-over-year increases in viewership, they're not looking to add on to that, even with inflation and everything else. They're looking to just match what Fox asked for last year. It goes on. Paramount is likely to seek a match from Super Bowl sponsors that have them pay a similar amount for other types of advertising inventory, a typical demand in negotiations around the Pigskin Classic. But But the buyer indicated that in this market, clients may even push back on even that ask.
Wow.
That is wild.
Crazy stuff, man. I'm telling you, dude, this stuff, Hollywood's going through it in a big way right now on so many different fronts. It's a seismic shift right now in the industry, you know?
Yeah, and everybody's trying to get theirs. That's why the writer's strike is happening right now, you know?
Yeah.
We're in the blip.
Yeah, exactly, right? Exactly. It's absolutely wild. Or you know, here's a good drop for that.
That is one big pile of shit.
There we go. Pretty much.
Yeah, it's going to be tough out there, folks. Hopefully everybody's ready. But at least Disney's rearranging its slate so that it can be as prepared as possible.
Absolutely. Well, that concludes this episode of the Orange Nerd Show. Comment down below, everybody, with what your thoughts on everything we talked about: the Slate, Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy, Marvel, Pixar, all of it. We would love to hear from you. I'll start off with you, Mr. VashSky, Dr. Dre. If you could let everybody at home know where they can find you on social media.
The best place to find me on social media is going to be at VashSky on Twitter. It's right down there. Just go ahead, type it in, and it should pop up for, as Christine Waysons McCarthy would say, for all of the
robust
discussions right there. And if you want to see me, well, it's going to be on the channel you're watching right now at Orange Grove 55, where we have some amazing shows. We really do. Not only including the one you're watching right now, as part of the Orange Nerd series of shows on the Orange Grove 55 network, but also, too, Citrus George with his amazing Citrus Corner right down below, talking about everything Walt Disney World related. Story Geeks with Jay, where we talk about the stories that most impact our lives, and my own On There Freshly Squeezed, your source for juice, news, and info, squeezed fresh right from the Grove. And OG,
thank you very much.
I want to go ahead and thank you for hosting this amazing show. Thank you for so much for having me on.
Yeah, and since we talked, and since I haven't dropped this drop in a long time, and since we talked a little bit today about Twitter haters, I thought this would be appropriate.
You gotta be grateful. You need haters. What the fuck is you complaining about? What the fuck do you think a hater's job is? To fucking hate. So let them motherfuckers do their goddamn job.
There we go. To all the Twitter
haters.
Well,
I'm glad since we're talking of Disney and everything, we're keeping it kid friendly. You know,
of course. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Family show. Citrus George, if you can let everybody at home know where they can find you on social media, sir.
Absolutely. You can find me on my YouTube channel, Disney Family Man 23. You can interact with me on Twitter at Disney George. Please check out the podcast, A Walk with Walt, that I am currently part of. And of course, you'll find me here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner, with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
Okay, so fellas, I'm gonna leave it up to you guys. I have a few drops I can play at the end. I can do the Blackpink one that we've been doing lately, or I can bring back an oldie but goodie, Carl's Jr. What should we drop today?
Well, you know my answer. Answer.
Let's do some Carls. Last few times we did Blackpink. Let's do some Carls. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. Have a great one, everybody.